Good morning, my loves, my lovies. Oh, my lovies. It's Tuesday. Let me tell you about why we doing this raw, just unpolished stuff. Because I'm not waiting no more. I can't tell you how many video editors I done gone through who just ain't doing what they said they're gonna do. So until we find the right match, we're gonna still get this content out. We still gonna get the truth to the people, because that's my gift. My gift ain't video editing. So for those of you who know me, you know that I take pride in the fact that I can do a few things really well. One of those things is helping people find themselves, get like to the truth of who they are in Christ. The other thing is I can sing my butt off. And I'm not even like, and I didn't even know that I could sing like that. I swear to you, I had no idea that I was as dope as I was. It wasn't until I was in my 30s when I was like, I think I'm like dope. I say that because I want you to give permission in the 2, 3, 4, 5 areas that you like. I think I'm on that, right? I'm really dope at singing. And for those of you who have been with me, who know that I coach people fearlessly, I coach them through fear so that you can be an amazing singer. You know that for those of you who are singers, for those of you who've been around singers, those of you who get the vibe, like the singer, like I don't know what folks are doing on the radio today, but for those who sing, you know that runs are an art. And you kind of just need to be around them a lot to kind of get them. You need to be, into them. You need to, like I said, it's a big, certainly a whole like black thing, because honey, we got tricks for days because y'all wouldn't give us nothing. So we found our magic. So when you're doing runs, going up is slightly more complicated. Running up is slightly more complicated than coming down. And I want you to stay with me. For those of you who think this is just about music, it's not. Because I dabble in and out. I teach voice coaching, but I teach life coaching. Because you can't be a dope artist if you aren't a dope person. You're just going to regurgitate the same whack stuff, okay? So you're going to regurgitate what everybody thinks you should do so you can be successful, so you can be validated. You're going to give out what's already there. God doesn't want that. God wants a new sound from you. So when you're doing runs, going up can be slightly more complicated because the brain doesn't think in that way. And the brain, even though it's not intimidated by high notes, your body's going to respond to a high note the same way as a low note. But your emotions and your fear is intimidated by high notes. It's like, ooh, I'm about to crack. Ooh, people gonna laugh at me. Ooh, I might not make it, So if you learn how to technically hit the high note, you'll hit it the same way you hit a mid-range note or a low note. The point is that you just scary. So we are intimidated by runs that go up for those reasons. So when you hear Beyonce song, right? Going up like that, it's a little more complicated. Going up, it's like, let me think through that. I had to think through it to be like, oh, I get it. When you hear some of like Jasmine Sullivan's and some people's runs, you're like, okay, come through, Kiara, right? Going down, sliding down, sliding down is easy. Your brain like, oh, it's getting easier. Oh, the notes are getting lower. So for most people, when you hear them running, they usually, y'all, they switched up the dang on road on me. This is my regular path, y'all. And they didn't block off a whole lane. Look at this. Be prepared and pay attention for unexpected things. That's why I'm not looking right at y'all. They're gonna just block off a whole lane. What's this? So anyway, coming down is a lot easier because it just is. You're not as intimidated. Your emotions aren't as scared. And most people who do runs are always sliding down. They start up and they come down, or they might, come down and do a little bit of like, like, what I'm saying? They'll like go up and then come right back down. They're not going to keep going up. The same is true for your life though, friend. The same is true for your life. And I'm trying to connect it for you everything that you have to ascend to, like you got to be above it, you got to rise up to it. If you got to rise up to it, it's going to be slightly more complicated. It's the way that it is. And if your mind doesn't want that formula, you're not going to ascend. You're not going to take yourself higher. You're not going to go for the thing that your brain is going, that's challenging. Well, look, a little mountain. I know how to maybe climb a hill. I know how to go for a long, flat, plain walk. I don't know how to climb a mountain. So if your mind is already in, not even your mind, it's your emotions. Your mind is like, all you're going to do is put one foot in front of the other. But your emotions like, oh, but I might get winded. Oh, but I might die up there. Oh, but I've never seen anybody else climb a mountain who look like me. So ascending is always a little more complicated. Because you have to see yourself doing new things that you don't normally do. That's it. It's just uncertainty, and you're not used to like being uncertain. Like I'm used to being uncomfortable and uncertain because that's what I decide I want to do. I want to keep doing new stuff. So I'm used to that. But most people are like, I want to be comfortable. I want to be. So then when you try and do a run, or you try and ascend in your relationships, or you try and ascend in your revenue, or you try to ascend in resilience. I'm giving you these R's for a reason so you remember. You approach the same way artists and vocalists approach runs, which is... So instead of thinking through each run, this is how you do a run. E, 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 E. There are the notes. E, E, E. Instead of thinking through the pattern and how to achieve that ascending, you'd be like, E. That's easy. I'm done. That's what you'll be like. I'm done. Instead of ascending in your relationships, like, okay, I don't have friends who cuss me out. I don't have friends who like don't show up, when they say they're gonna show up. So I gotta stop with these friends for a minute and like ascend in my relationships. I don't have marriages that like are disrespectful and unkind to each other. I don't have, passive aggressive relationships. So in those, instead of you like saying, let me ascend and figure out how I need to become a better person, how I need to become less, unkind, condescending, judgmental, whatever. Let me figure out what I got to do to ascend. Instead of you like climbing that mountain, doing that run, going up, you'd be like, never mind, I forget it. And you just slide down into some kind of life you ain't even supposed to have. You just be sliding. We just be sliding. Instead of you being like, okay, great, this $10,000, I don't know, a year. Some people are living on $10,000 a year, y'all. And a lot of it just be through free money from the government. Jesus. So instead of you being like, this ain't cutting it, or $2,000 a month, or $5,000, whatever. This is great, this was cute, but this ain't cutting it. So instead of you learning, who do I have to become? What habits have to change? What's the truth about finances? Like, instead of you figuring that out and ascending, right? And the habits that are required to becoming a better, more fruitful steward of the resources that God has available to you, you be like, forget it, I'm gonna just go ahead and get this link card. Forget it, I'm gonna just, and nothing wrong with link. We've been on link, so I understand when you have a need. I'm talking about that moment when you stay there because it's just too difficult to change. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about that moment. You be like, forget it. And instead of you being like, you know what, I'm not giving my body away to no man who is not my husband. They gonna have to wait. I'm a wife. I'm gonna ascend to being a wife. I'm not a thought. I'm not a one night stand. That's not who I am. You gonna have to commit to this, right? Instead of being that chick who has to learn, why do I give myself away easily? Why can't I, why is it hard for me to make people wait for me? Like learning those questions. Instead of you growing into being her, you be like, well, I'm gonna just do it this one time. Sliding your way down into some mess. I'm telling you what is the truth. I've been hurt, and instead of me healing, people have hurt me. Instead of me forgiving, I'm gonna just go ahead and give my body away to whoever. So resilience, right? Let's talk about that. Like, instead of me learning, what does it take for me not to be a quitter? That's a habit. Being a quitter is a whole vibe. Like, some people, that's just what they do. It's like, and I get that. It's too hard. I'll do it tomorrow. It's too hard. I'll procrastinate. Well, that's a habit. That's a vibe. And so instead of you learning, why am I quitting? What is it about like going to therapy? Like, do the work to ascend. Do the work to like climb the mountain. instead of doing the work, which is a little bit more complicated, it's a little bit harder, we just be like, I'll lose the weight tomorrow. I'll wait till a near-death experience to do it. I'll wait till somebody take my toes or my gallbladder or my an organ before I might get motivated. And some of us still don't get motivated. It's just a little bit more complicated. So ascending is a little bit more complicated. And if you don't wrap your mind around, I'm not gonna do this, so let me get myself prepared to climb. It ain't hard. It certainly isn't impossible. It's just a little bit more complicated. It's just new, right? It's like, let me slow down for a minute. Because every time I still have to do a run that's going up, I have to sit down and slow down and go, where are those notes? Once I get it, I get it. If it's a run where I'm going down, I don't have to hardly think about it at all. I'm like, okay, I get it. I hear the notes real easy. There it is. I'm not as intimidated by runs going down. And almost every artist I know is the same way who does runs. They're like, I got it. Because that's their gifting and they got it. But everybody who's doing a run going up, they got to kind of think through it. Like, where are we doing? And then once they navigate it, then it's like, okay, I get what we're doing. That's why it's so impressive to those of us who are musicians. Like, dang, they just did that going up. It's like Michael Jordan in the air, like floating and switching the basketball to each hand. Because we know it's hard to do it going up. Do you hear me? I'm praying you hear me. Because if your mind be like, okay, this is just a little more complicated, then you don't be afraid of the fact that it's just a little more complicated. It's going to take a little bit more time. Not a lot. Just a little bit more like, okay, it's not going to be as easy. It'll get easier and easier, but it'll still always be, if I'm going to go up to another level in my relationships, in my revenue, and my ability to bounce back, my own level of resilience, I don't quit. I don't quit. I don't quit. I just don't. I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. I just don't do it. I might take a break. It's going to be real brief. I'm going to get right back in it. That's who I am. In order to become that person, then it's going to take a little bit more work than the person who's like, I quit. I don't feel like it. That's easy. Sliding down into a pitiful existence is easy. Choosing not to go for the goal in a quantitative, like, I'm checking it off way, like holding yourself accountable, keeping people around you who like, didn't you say you was going to, like, doing that, choosing yourself not to go for a goal is easier. It really is. Oh my goodness, it's so much easier. Just be like, I'm gonna eat this whole bag of chips. I know I said I was gonna come out here and work out, but I'll do it tomorrow. That's easier. So once you know that, you can just stop playing yourself. Stop playing yourself. This is a lot easier than me actually climbing the mountain, but I'm going to climb this mountain because that's the person that I am. And it's not going to be a hard, impossible thing. It's just going to be a little more complicated because I've never done it. This is a little bit more, okay, let me just prepare differently. Okay, let me get a little bit more food, a little bit more nutrition that's actually real nutrition. Let me get a Sherpa who's been up this mountain before, right? Let me get a guide. Like, let me learn the things. Let me do all the things. And the things that I don't normally do so that I can actually ascend this mountain. Does that help you? You can do it. You're actually made to do it. It's just a little more complicated. Not impossible and not even that hard. And I'm going to give you a last tip on that. If it's your sweet thing, like it's your sweet spot, like my sound is my sound. It's so beautiful. It's so juicy. It's so, luxe. I love it. It's easy for me. It's my sound. It's what I hear. It's like, oh, that's gotta be dope if I do that. Like playing in my sound is easy. Playing in somebody else's sound is exhausting. If I'm trying to do somebody else's sound, like if me trying to do Cardi B is like absolutely hilarious. It's a mockery. Like Cardi B should only be doing Cardi B. I am not supposed to be doing that. Does that make sense? It's toil for me. Me being somebody just offered me a really, really cute position, pays really well. And it's like, oh, that's wonderful. But that would be like, slit my wrist. Like, I couldn't imagine working over somebody's expense sheets. I would hate doing budgeting. I absolutely don't want to plan your life and help you with your travel plans. Like, I'm the one who wants to travel. So even though I'm really good at it, I don't want to do it for you. That would be like horrible. To me, it's toil. But do you know I'm right now looking to hire someone who can do exactly what they just offered me to do? I want an executive assistant, someone who can virtually or non-virtually assist me. Because it's a whole need. It's a whole value to the position. I just would slip my wrist if I had to do it. Right? Somebody else is like, I'm thriving, I'm winning, I'm administratively on fire. So that means that it's going to be a little complicated for you to learn new skills, for you to learn how to improve areas of your life that you want to improve. But if you're in your sweet spot, it's going to be so much easier for you than it would for somebody like me who's trying to ascend areas that are not my gifting. I shouldn't be trying to do that. For me, I love making money. For me, like, I want to learn how to do that. For me, I love making art. I want to learn how to be better at that. And not just art, performance art. Like, I love being on stage and serving people and healing people and giving them joy from a stage. It is like the life of me. Some of my artists are like, if you even ask me to be on that stage, I might just pass out. I'll write the songs. I can help with the production. I'll stand still and do BGVs. But please do not ask me. They're not there yet. I'm like, give me the mic. Give me the spotlight. I'm ready. Because I was designed for that. So I hope that gives you perspective. One, it's going to be a little more complicated to ascend anything in your life. Going up is going to be a little bit harder, just more complicated than coming down. But it ain't impossible, and it won't be nearly as hard for somebody who shouldn't even be in your lane. If it's your lane, it's actually going to give you life. It'll be something it's a challenge. You'll have to grow at it, but it's going to give you life because you're like, dude, I was made for this. I was made for these runs, right? This is what I do. It's not 12 for me. This is my lane. That's why that last post we talked about was so valuable, because you know what you want. You know what you're good at. You know what you're willing to do the research and develop the skills and learn to, because it's your thing. You love it. You were made for it. Yeah? Love you on this Tuesday. I hope that musical life tip serves you well. Wrap your mind around it. If I'm going to go to the next level, if I'm going up, it's going to be a little more complicated. I just got to figure out what the new rules are for that level. No worries. I got it. If it's my sweet spot, I'm going to get it extra fast, because this is what I want to do anyway.